Tubers, Tibets, crazy people. I'm here with my wifey, and we're going to talk to you today a little about healthcare. And one thing I want to preempt this with is that it's about healthcare here in our area. I'm not speaking for any other places like Cebu or Manila, but if you're planning a visit to Dumaguete area, this might be of interest to you because these are some of our own personal experiences that we've had. We're going to be totally honest. We're not going to name any hospitals because some of them are not going to get very good reviews and some of them are going to get good ones, but we're just going to leave their names out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so here comes our little video. Sound check 1, 2. Say hi, mate.
Hello, hello.
You don't have to look at it. Just talk to the camera. Say hi to the camera.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, you don't have to yell. Okay, well, sorry for starting the thing off with a blooper, but we couldn't resist doing the sound check. Anyway, we're going to talk about health care. And I can't come at this with anything other than observations. Fortunate for me, knock on wood, I have never been hospitalized or spent the night in a hospital. However, I know a lot of people that have, and the experiences have swung from great to horrible. I also want to qualify this video with that I'm only speaking about the Dumaguete, Valencia, Bacong, Dowan area here in Negros Oriental. May and I went up to Iloilo not too long ago, and we saw hospital after hospital after hospital. It's actually the birthplace of nursing. 100 years ago in Iloilo, they started training nurses. And so there's a lot of doctors, and I'm sure they're very competent there. Same in Manila, same in Cebu. So I would say that the healthcare there would be head and shoulders above what we have here. Why do I say that? Because you may be thinking about coming here. And so what do you do about healthcare? Word of mouth usually is the best way to go. And ask people if, like my friend Monty, he currently found, he's had some issues with his heart, and he's found what he feels to be a very, very good cardiologist here. But it didn't happen overnight. He had to kiss a few frogs before he found his prince. He went to this guy, that guy. One guy just wanted to give him vitamins and sell him some stuff off the shelf, to this guy that actually did a whole CAT scan, body scan, whatever kind of scan, and told him the lowdown on what's going on with his body and prescribed him the proper medication. We have had good experiences, and ourselves personally, with May and her family. We've had good experiences and we've had bad experiences. So good experience was a couple of years ago. We actually did a video on this. May out of nowhere just broke out with a rash, and at allergy, 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, we had a friend drive us down because we didn't have a car, and a friend drove us down to the hospital, and we went in, and the doctor we had to triage first. I'll bring that back up later. We had to triage first, which means you had to go in. They took her blood pressure. To get their name, ask for insurance, payment information, this, that, the other. It takes about 15 minutes. And then if they're not packed already, they'll take you in. But if the emergency room or there's no doctor available, you're just going to sit there. Fortunately for us, that wasn't the case. They got May right in. The doctor was totally competent. He rattled off 7 medications. I could tell this was not his first rodeo with an allergic reaction. And he got her doctored up, fixed up, and we were in and out in 2 hours, I figured, round numbers, and it cost $45. So there you go. There's a good story. Bad stories. There's been guys that I know that have been in motorcycle accidents, and they've broken their legs, they've been concussions, this, that, the other, and they've just lain in the hallway because at the hospital they wanted some money up front. I'll get back to that also. They never asked us for money up front when we took you in, so there's no rhyme or reason to it. But the one thing I will leave you with is if you join Phil Health out here, I'm not going to get into health insurance, I self-insure. So that's a personal decision and something you guys can Google or look up, what kind of health coverage would be international and do you think it's worth the money? I personally don't, but that's just me. So Phil Health is something she avails herself of and is like the e-ticket into a room. Same thing for me. In January, now that we're married, I qualify for the same plan that she has through Phil Health, so I'll have it also. So if I have to be hospitalized, I don't have to produce $10,000 or $20,000, pesos up front. I can just show my Phil Health. They know they're going to get paid, and they'll put you in. Totally opposite from what I'm accustomed to in the States. No one ever asked me for a dime when I went to an emergency room. In 2010, I had a heart attack. They called an ambulance for me. My coworkers called an ambulance. They could see I was in trouble. Ambulance got me to the hospital. Ambulance, by the time I got to the hospital, they had already phoned in that I was suffering from a coronary issue. They had the EKG on me. They had all the stats. They had medicine going into me already. They had an IV started. So that when I got to the hospital, boom, they just went from there to the room. They took off the clothes. They put on the gown. They wheeled me into another room. In came the doctor. He threw a stent in through my groin. And bang, in an hour, heart attack over with. Done, gone, saved my life. I had coffee with a guy 3 months ago. He goes, hey, Paul. And he's lived here for a long time. He goes, what if one of us had a heart attack right now? What do you think would happen? I said, oh, we'd die. Because there's just no 911 that you can call and have the same experience I just explained. Where you call them up, you say, I'm at this location, come get me. All right. The ambulances here are just modified trucks. They don't have a bunch of equipment and stuff in them. They just got some guys and you lay on a board, or it's not even comfortable. And there's a few ambulances that we see racing around. They get called somehow, but they're not doing anything to you while you're in the ambulance or prepping you. They just kind of get you there. You're better off just calling a friend and saying, man, I think I'm having a stroke or a heart attack or an issue. I can't breathe, whatever, and get a ride like we did with her little allergic reaction. So, that being said, I find here in sleepy little Dumageddon, I find it goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. The triage thing is, to me, I understand they need to get your vitals and all that, but in my mind, if there's an opening in the emergency room, if you really have something critical, then they should get you right into the emergency room and a doctor attending you while they're taking the vitals. They don't do it that way. They do the vital stuff first, and there goes 15 minutes. 15 minutes in certain cases can be the difference between life or death. There is also a level of incompetence, and I'm being negative here, but I'm being truthful. It's like I said, it swings both ways. There's a level of incompetence when it comes to the staff that's working there. I took my friend Julian, myself and a guy named Sean, took our friend Julian to the hospital when he had Guillain-Barré syndrome. He was paralyzed from the neck down. And we went to 3 different places asking, can we see a doctor? And they said, no, there's nobody here right now. Went to the help desk, so-called help desk. No, you'd have to go up to the 3rd floor and ask somebody there. We don't know. I'm thinking, well, you can't pick up the phone and find out if there's a doctor available? I don't know what they're there for. And so Sean and I didn't give up, and neither did Jules. And we finally got him into the emergency room as our last gasp, and that was what we should have started with. They did triage him, and they did get him into a room. And there was, believe it or not, a doctor. And just the kind of doctor that he needed was on staff. Where the other people told us, no, there's no one here. No, you'll have to come back or maybe go over there. blah, 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 blah. So there's where I get my most critical about the staffing here. There's other times where it's just been awesome, like when we took you in.
Yeah.
My other friend just recently had a problem with, he was retaining water and it's getting all swelled up and bloated. And so he called the premier hospital here. And again, we're leaving all the hospital names out of it for the sake of my own safety. And he made a 9 o'clock in the morning appointment. And he doesn't live close to this hospital. So he had to get up early. He wasn't feeling good. Showered, got in the car. I think his wife had to drive him down because of his condition. They got there for their 9 o'clock appointment, and the receptionist said, "Oh, well, the doctor doesn't come in till this afternoon." So what did they do? You can't argue it. He just got in the car, drove to another hospital with no appointment, waited about 45 minutes in the waiting room after finding a doctor that they could see, got in, and the guy was great. And he competently diagnosed him and gave him the proper diuretics or whatever it was to get rid of this excess water that he's got going on. And I could kill you with stories and examples, but I just wanted to give you, I think, fair and balanced information that it's mediocre to good. I would not call any of it excellent. Here's another staffing story that we just recently experienced ourselves. May's mother,
Yes.
May's elderly mother, who had no business being on a chair, standing on a chair,
Yeah.
and she was picking a piece of fruit. So there you have it, folks. What possessed her to want this piece of fruit? I guess it's just, she's from the hills, right? She's
Yeah.
from the farm.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. You see a piece of food, you go get it, right?
Yeah.
And she fell and cracked her head open,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So her sister, Georgia
Reza.
Lynn, was it Riza?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got the wrong sister. Riza took her to the hospital and told May and sent her a picture of this big gash
Yeah.
in her mom's head. And we were like, what can we do? It's okay, we're taking her to the hospital. We'll keep you informed as to what's going on. So we said, okay. I said, do you want to go down now? And May said, well, there's no point in going down now. Let's just find out what's going on. And then if we need anything, we'll do it. We'll go in a few minutes. Okay. So May waited about 20 minutes trying to call Riza. No reply, of course, because Riza didn't have any load or couldn't get an internet or whatever the case was. All the little nuances of living out here. And so I said, well, why don't you go down and check on your mom, and I'll finish doing what I'm doing, and then I'll come pick you up, and we can take her home or whatever we're going to do. Apparently it wasn't life-threatening. It was just a gash, needed stitches. So you went to the hospital.
Yeah, emergency room.
You went to the emergency room because that's where they said they had taken her.
Yeah.
At that particular hospital.
Yes.
What happened when you went up to the lady?
I asked the lady, can you check and in the book they have my mother for the name, the record, and then said, okay, ma'am, I check, and then the lady said, sorry, ma'am, your mother name is not her.
So she said she was never there.
Yeah.
And so May's looking around like
30 minutes.
Yeah, where's my mom? And what did I get wrong? Where's the miscommunication? Did Riza tell me the wrong hospital? I don't know what was going through her head. And so she finally got a hold of Riza, and Riza told her, well, mom's home.
Yeah.
They had taken her in at that hospital.
Yeah.
They had triaged her.
Yes.
They had gotten her information because they do that every time.
Yeah.
Believe me, they want to know where they're getting paid from. And They sent her home. She needed stitches
Yeah.
in her head, right?
Yeah.
Thank God it wasn't serious, but it was rather expensive.
6,000.
6,000 pesos.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining, I don't know, I haven't got the story firsthand. They must have done an X-ray or something like that because normally it's not that expensive. And her older sister, just to put a little fine point on it, how their family operates, what did she do to pay for it? Are you embarrassed to say? She pawned her jewelry to get the 6,000 pesos. Is that okay for me to tell them?
Yeah.
Okay. She pawned her jewelry. That was how the family worked. And not that I'm any big hero or anything, but I said, why didn't you just ask me? And she always tells me the same thing. It's not your problem. It's not your family. I said, well, here, give Georgia Lynn tell Reza to come over here. I'll give her the money. Let Georgia Lynn unhock her jewelry. And we'll just call it, a Christmas present or something. I don't know. And so that's kind of, I know it's kind of discombobulated. I wish I had a really cool, easy way to tell you about this, but I would like to be honest with you and say that it can be a very long, drawn-out, frustrating experience here. I have found the best way is word of mouth. So I do know a guy, my friend Monty, who swears by his cardiologist. Through hit and miss a few years ago, I found a really good dermatologist when I had some stuff on my face that needed to be lasered off. And you want to go in once a year, especially at my age, and get full skin check with the sun and all that kind of stuff. So she's great. Of course, it takes 5 weeks to get in to see her, but so for an emergency, that's a different story. I went to another dermatologist prior to finding her. Now I do remember. And I had an issue. I had an allergic reaction to some soap that she had.
Your eye is getting black eye.
And so, anyway, and then I had another bunch of sores and stuff or wounds that were
underarms.
Yeah, and she misdiagnosed it, and she prescribed me like $500 worth of the wrong type of medication. And it wasn't going away. And she said, well, this was years ago, but she said, you just have a very aggressive case. And I said, okay. And she's the doctor, she's the dermatologist, she must know. And I continued the treatment and nothing happened. And then I found a new dermatologist, the one I just mentioned that takes 5 weeks to get in to see. And she took one look at me and she said, no, you don't have that. You just need to change. I'll do some tests on you. And she took me back to her office and ran some scratch tests and this test and that test. And she says, you're having an allergic reaction to soap. And so you need to use sulfur soap. You can't use this whitening soap that everybody owns out here. Is really ripping your body up. It caused sores. It caused my eye to explode one time. And so I learned my lesson there. If you're coming out here and you're on a bunch of different medications, bring plenty of them with you, is my friendly advice. I don't like to give advice, but this is important. You try to get 3 months supply. And if you have any kind of serious type of condition, I would stay home if you're concerned about it. In other words, if you've got a bad ticker or you're having any other kind of sort of issues, travel, I would not advise. Maybe the other cities would be good for you. Maybe you're set to retire and you want to just be done with it and you'll take your chances. Be as preemptive as you can. It might help you to choose the location. You might want to consider someplace other than Dumaguete. They do have good hospitals, but it's hit or miss. A hospital can be bright and shiny and beautiful and have all the modern equipment, but if the doctor's not there at 9 o'clock when you have the appointment, what good is it, So anyway, that's my little speech about healthcare out here. I have never found it conducive for me to take out any kind of insurance policy. I know a lot of guys are going to argue the point with me. I have Medicare A and B. I've kept that up. I figured if I ever get a chronic illness, that I'll just go back to the States or Guam or wherever it takes Medicare and get myself dialed in that way. But I have found that even if you have something serious out here, unless it's really something exotic, I've got a reserve amount of money for my medical that I can go ahead and just pay for it and be done with it. Still a fraction of the cost of what it would cost cash in the States, or possibly, well, Canada and Australia has free health care, so you guys are getting it already. I guess it's just Americans. All right, so that's the little healthcare update. I don't know if it made any sense to you, but what I want to drive home is that there's no 911, there's no racing you in right away, and sometimes if you don't have money in your pocket, they're just going to let you lay in the hallway until you produce it. I do know a guy, I'm probably repeating myself, that laid for 2 days in the hallway before they would admit him because somebody came down with some cash. One other quick thing, I just remembered. They will sometimes not release you from the hospital until you pay the bill. And on my phone, I have a copy of the law that says they cannot do that. They have to release you as long as you sign a piece of paper that says you agree to pay the balance within a very short period of time, and then they have to let you go. So if you ever find yourself in that situation where you're in the hospital, you stayed for 3 or 4 days, they want X amount of pesos, you don't have it on you, it's at home, and you can get it, you can access it, you just don't have it on you, you don't have a significant other that can bring it to you or a friend, they will try to hold you there. And it just doesn't, and they just keep charging you every day that you stay, which makes no sense at all. You can say, fine, call the police. Call the police, and because they know the law. They'll threaten. They'll say, we'll call the police. And you say, good, call them. Because they know the law. You have to release me. And you sign a piece of paper. All right? So I know this wasn't the most upbeat video that we've ever done, but I figured we'd go ahead and do it anyway. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Bye-bye.